Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea de la Cerda, and each week I'm bringing you the latest discussions and news about changes in the landscape of education and entrepreneurship. As a 22-year entrepreneur, corporate executive, business coach, and leader, I mentor a community of change-making men and women to get out of their box and step into their true calling to make the biggest impact on the world. This podcast is all about empowering people, navigating life's twists and turns, and stepping into the fullest version of who we're meant to be. So let's talk about something today that makes some of us a little squirmy. Something that might make you want to change the subject in a conversation with your friends. It can even feel taboo to even bring it up. I'm talking about money. Your salary, your savings, your investments, your debt, your fears, and your dreams. The numbers that keep you up at night, or the financial goals that feel just always out of reach. And for so many women, talking about money feels more taboo than discussing politics at Thanksgiving dinner. We've been conditioned to believe that financial conversations are inappropriate in some way. Maybe they're impolite or somehow unfeminine. Or maybe you rely on your husband or partner to handle these details or have these conversations without you. But when we don't talk about money, we're not just maintaining a social norm, but maintaining an intentional gap. A gap in earnings, in wealth building, in financial confidence, and ultimately in freedom. So today, we're going to break that money taboo. We're exploring why financial silence disproportionately hurts women, the real costs of staying quiet, and most importantly, how to start having these conversations in ways that transform not just your bank account, but your sense of possibility and personal power. Because here's the truth. Your financial well-being is far too important to be treated as an impolite topic of conversation. So let's dive in. Let's first talk about why this financial silence is truly so damaging, particularly for women. First, the first impact, there's a wealth gap, which is even more significant than the wage gap we hear about most often. And like we've discussed in previous episodes, research shows that women who own just 32 cents for every dollar owned by men, and the gap is even wider for women of color, with Black women owning just 8 cents and Latina women owning only 6 cents for every dollar owned by a white man. And this isn't just about earning less, it's also about having less opportunity to build assets, less financial security, and less ability to weather economic storms. It's about having less freedom to make choices based on what you want rather than what you can afford. And a significant contributor to this gap, the fact that women have less access to financial information, education, and networks where money matters are discussed openly. And then there's the confidence gap. A study found that financial confidence accounts for 30% of the disparity in financial education between men and women. And overall, only 33% of women report feeling confident about their finances, while 46% of men reported the same. This lack of confidence doesn't just affect how we feel, but also what we do. Women are more likely to keep money in low-yield savings accounts rather than investing it, and less likely to negotiate salaries or ask for raises. Women are more likely to take career breaks without having the opportunity to fully prepare for the long-term financial and career implications of that. But perhaps most alarming is what happens long-term. Women face a retirement crisis that's directly linked to our money silence. Women retire with approximately 30% less in retirement savings than men. Yet, we typically live 5 to 7 years longer, meaning our smaller nest eggs need to stretch much further. And by age 65, the average woman needs $500,000 or more than the average man to maintain the same standard of living throughout retirement due to longer life expectancy. And what we're discussing here, this is about basic security and dignity in our later years. It's not a retirement of luxury, so don't get me wrong. The fact is, our financial silence isn't just uncomfortable, it's really expensive. It costs us in real dollars, in real opportunities, and ultimately in the freedom to shape our own lives the way we want to. So let's talk about what's actually keeping us quiet. Where is all of that coming from? Where did this trend start? To break the taboo, we really need to understand where it stems from. For women especially, the roots of financial silence can run really deep. For centuries, women were legally excluded from financial independence. It wasn't until the 1970s that women could even get credit cards or bank accounts in their own names without a male cosigner. These legal barriers may be gone, but the cultural residue remains. Many of us grew up hearing messages about finance that shaped the way we think about it now. Things like, it's not polite to talk about money, a lady doesn't discuss finances, or let your husband or father or brother handle the investments. These seemingly casual comments were deliberate ways to keep women financially dependent, and for many of us, they fundamentally shaped how we think about money conversations today. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Some of our early thoughts about money and our relationship with money is built when we're very young. The way that it's modeled for us, or how our parents talk about it. And if our parents or my mother had a different relationship with money because she was from a different generation, of course she's going to bring some of those feelings into my life. And that's where then we have just generational dependency. Beyond the historical context, though, many women have internalized contradictory messages about money and success because we're told to be ambitious, but not too ambitious, right? To be successful, but not intimidating. To be financially savvy, but not financially confident. These double binds create internal confusion within us. It makes talking about money feel really risky. I once worked with a woman who was a brilliant entrepreneur. Over lunch one day, she shared with me that her business had just hit another major milestone. Then she was afraid to share her revenue goals with the rest of our friends. And when we dug into why, she admitted, I'm afraid they'll think I'm greedy or that the money has changed me. And this fear of judgment, of being seen as either financially failing or overly ambitious, keeps so many women in financial isolation and only puts us even further behind in the conversation. And then there's how we're socialized around money since childhood. Research shows that, like I said, parents talk differently to boys and girls about financial matters. Boys are more likely to receive messages about investing, wealth building, financial risk taking, while girls are more likely to receive messages about things like budgeting, saving, and financial caution. And by adulthood, these different conversations have created different financial languages and comfort levels. This puts women at a disadvantage in environments where financial fluency matters. Everything from salary negotiations to investment discussions to business funding conversations. And when you don't have the language for something, it's that much harder to talk about, and really that much harder to put yourself out there, just in case you say the wrong thing. Now that we understand why we're silent, though, and what it costs us, it's important to talk about the power of breaking this taboo. Because when women collectively start talking openly about money in a smart way, everything changes. For individual women, financial transparency creates a ton of immediate benefits. They grow to have increased financial confidence. Just simply knowing what others in similar positions earn or invest can boost your confidence in attacking your own financial goals. They make better financial decisions. Access to real-world financial information helps you make more informed choices about everything from business economics to investment strategies. And it reduces that shame and self-isolation. Discovering that you're not alone in your financial challenges or questions can be incredibly freeing and very validating. Breaking this taboo has an undercurrent of ripple effects that can transform communities for generations. It takes that shame that we feel about money and transforms it into action. And beyond personal beliefs, when women talk about money collectively, we create pressure for systemic change. And this is where we see the biggest social shifts. For example, we know pay transparency leads to pay equity. Research shows that companies with greater salary transparency have smaller gender pay gaps. We see investment patterns shift too. As more women discuss investing strategies and outcomes, financial products and services evolve to better serve women's needs. For example, the 2023 quote, Women Talk Money initiative in Australia led to major financial institutions revamping their products for women after thousands shared stories of being poorly served by existing options. Wow. And across our government, this gives way for policy priorities to change. When enough women raise financial concerns publicly, politicians and policymakers begin to take notice. And when they move from taking notice to taking action, the biggest changes can happen. But how do we actually break this silence? How do we start having these conversations in ways that feel comfortable and productive? I would suggest it's okay to start small. Try starting with your inner circle. I'm going to give you a few conversation starters. Something like this. I'm working on being more financially savvy this year. Have you tried investing over the last few years? What worked for you? Or this one. I'm thinking about building more for retirement. Do you mind sharing what percentage of your income you set aside? Or this one. I recently realized I might be undercharging for my consulting. Would you be open to sharing your rate range so I can benchmark? The key is to approach these conversations with curiosity rather than comparison, and to be willing to share your own situation first to create reciprocity. So understand that building that trust or starting with individuals who you already have strong trust with is really a great place to start for some of these conversations. But sometimes direct conversations for some people can feel too vulnerable, and that's okay. To get started, tap into some third-party data. There's a lot of great resources online. It can create so much space for honest discussion too. For example, try sharing articles about gender pay gaps in your industry, or reference salary databases or publish reports. If you've read a great financial book or listened to a helpful financial podcast, share it with others. These tactics can create enough distance that it makes the conversation feel a little bit less personal, but it also still opens the door to meaningful exchange on this topic, which we need to have. Small steps can ignite bigger conversations. One of the most powerful ways to break taboos, I believe, as a communicator, is through storytelling. I know that might sound scary to some, but just hear me out. Practice sharing your financial journey. And I mean all of it. The mistakes, the wins, the lessons learned, the good, the bad, and the dirty. But take your narrative and shape it in a way that might help other people. When you frame money talk as a way to serve others or provide learn from my mistake opportunities, it can transform the energy of the conversation. I started sharing my own financial journey, including my early mistakes, in some of my content, including on this podcast. And it's really incredible how it gives permission for others to be equally transparent with me. I've had women tell me that hearing my story gave them hope for the way money can transform from something troublesome to something impactful when you use it with the right intention and approach. It's not money for the sake of having money, but think about what a bigger impact you could have in the world. And hearing someone else share the highs and lows extended something in them to continue that conversation and start sharing their stories too. That's the power of financial storytelling. Finally, actively seek financial mentorship and offer it to other people. This really creates a continuous chain of financial wisdom that strengthens our whole community. And look, we're not all financial professionals. I'm not a wealth manager. I don't have that accreditation, but I have my own personal experience, and others do too. And there's no reason why we can't talk to one another and share some of our experiences if we can learn from each other in community. You can identify women just a few steps ahead of you financially, ask specifically for guidance, and then offer your knowledge to women coming up behind you. And this is something we actually cover in my mastermind program that's launching very soon. I'm going to put the link in the show notes if you're interested in checking it out. As we wrap up today's talk, I just want to leave you with this thought. Your financial story, with all of its complexities, ups and downs, challenges and triumphs, deserves to be spoken aloud. Not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of other women too. Every time you break the money taboo by sharing your salary range with a younger colleague, discussing investment strategies you've tried with a friend, or simply admitting that you're working on your relationship with money, you're creating tiny fractures in a system that has profited from women's financial silence for generations. I'm not calling for you to become obsessed with money or define your worth by your bank account. Absolutely not. But I want you to recognize that financial well-being is a crucial component of overall well-being that women have been discouraged from prioritizing for far too long, or encouraged to keep it in the hands of someone else. So I'm going to challenge you this week. Have one conversation about money that you would typically avoid. Maybe it's asking a colleague about salary ranges. Maybe it's talking to your partner about retirement goals. Maybe it's finally opening up to a friend about a financial challenge that you've been facing. Whatever it is, take that small step toward breaking the taboo. And then tell us how it goes. Email me at team@candulacommunications.com. I'd love to hear about the conversations that you're starting and how your story is working to help other people. Thank you so much for joining me today. If today's episode resonated with you at all, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another woman who needs this message today. And until next time, keep dreaming, keep creating, and keep the conversation going. Take care.